In 3, 2, 1. All right, we're recording. Wolfie, thank you so much for taking the time out to join me. It's weird to look at you like this, just with your head. I imagine actually right now you're seated on a stationary bike. Is that true?
Unfortunately, no, it's not. I'm seated on a bed, but I would love to be seated on a stationary bike. That's for sure.
Tell me, do you have one at home?
I hopefully will be having one soon.
Okay, you got one coming in. Yeah, I think there's been a mad rush to get all the equipment, right? People deciding what's doing, what's not. I think anyone with a Peloton would have been like, "Fucking yes!" They would have been like,
I know. This is probably like the best time for them right now.
Oh, they must be cleaning up, man. There's a few businesses. Zoom is another one. Zoom must be like cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how that works actually, but I'm pretty sure that they are also just capitalizing on all of it. In fact, just generally all the online sort of businesses who have been ahead of the game for centuries before, ahead of all of us that have still been living in the contact to contact world are probably just. I think it's affected everyone, but probably also worked in their favor in a sense, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think those ones that maybe there was a little bit of barrier for entry, people were like, I prefer classes anyway, and already got this membership. I think now they're going like, oh man, now I guess, I've said this with a lot of the guests I've spoken to. I've certainly felt that it's really let us see just how versatile and how amazing online communities can be, and how it's possible to do training and things using social media. Social media has actually been used in a good way for one of the first.
Yeah. I totally agree with that as well, because let's say like even 3 years ago, I had a little bit of a negative relationship with social media, because before I became a fitness instructor, the first thing I did was, my first passion in terms of professional passion was dancing. And with dancing, a lot of it is, everything is very portfolio based. So it's more or less always showcasing what you can do to create opportunities. And I didn't really probably understand that what was also really important about social media was not just showcasing your ability, but also being able to just connect with people in different ways and sharing positive things, not just necessarily things that can also be deemed superficial. And since I kind of joined the fitness side of things, I've noticed a lot more interaction-based social media. And that for me started making me think, wow, actually social media can have a very positive effect on everyone if used in the right way. Anything could be negative used in the wrong way. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's said even about yoga, it can be poison or can be medicine. It really depends on the individual using it, like everything.
When you say poison, what do you mean poison? You mean like the delivery of it? Or?
Like your application yourself. So as a practitioner, you can go in there and you can go like, I'm going to do some yoga. I'm going to do some yoga because you had that food this morning, you fat fuck. You're going to work this all off. You know what I mean? Like, and then it's poison, because what you're trying to do is punish yourself, or another example, if your wrist is really bad and you're like, well, you have to practice every day because you have to practice every day and you have to do the handstand. So then it can be poison, or
Understood.
You can have this, in my eyes, at least, you can have this dialogue with the body, this reciprocal respect. And it's funny, I see the body very much as separate to me. So it's this vehicle I'm charged with looking after for the entirety of my life, and we're codependent. So we've got to work together. So I need to listen and I need to tell, and I have to have that relationship with it, and I have to be listening, and I have to be looking out for it and doing what is necessary. So that's what I mean. 100%. Anything can be poison in how we use it. Now, you come from a background, obviously, that is, harder than most people will ever know. That industry is a tough industry, because
very tough.
Tell us a little bit about it. How did you get into dancing? Were you always into it? What was that career path like?
Do you know what is a good question, because I feel like I've been so fortunate in terms of jumping from one love to another. I've had only so far in my life 3 main loves. I'm in the 3rd one now, but the first one was basketball. And the reason I got into dance was basically I got a half scholarship to go to an American university. It's called American University, literally AU, in Washington State, I think it is. And I was unable to go because I couldn't afford the other half. So I decided, hey, I'm going to continue my education here in the UK. And as it so be, I actually ended up enjoying dance in my university degree. I didn't study dance, but they had a society there. And I thought, hey, let me just join the dance society and see what it's all about, because dance looks like it'll be a lot of fun if I'm not playing basketball anymore. And over 4 years, I became more and more passionate about dancing and decided, hey, I'm going to actually pursue this professionally. A friend of mine, the two of us actually got onto a dance show called Got to Dance in our 2nd year of university. And that gave us hope because we got into the semifinals. We're like, we've only been dancing for like a year and a half, and we've done well. So it made us think, after university, we got to do this professionally. And once I finished, it was a hustle. And believe me, it was a really tough hustle, because I hadn't been dancing as long as most people had, who had, since they were like 5 years old or 10 years old. Dancing was in their blood. Dancing for me was like, someone just gave me a key to this door, and I unlocked it. And on the other side of this door, all these amazing things. All I wanted to do is know each and every one of them. And it took time to be loving and kind to myself in the process, because when everyone else is way better than you, all you got to do is try and be better and better each day. And it can be quite self-harming to a degree. It can be poison too. But that's how I got into it.
It's this tough line, right, where you want to be pushing yourself past where you'd normally quit. So there has to be this point in which you can go further. You can transcend yourself by pushing yourself a little bit further, but not to a degree where, I guess, where you're hurting yourself mentally. It's tough, because to be good at anything, you've got to put time in. You've got to put time
in. And I also think that, going from what you said, the time you put in, it can be mentally damaging if you're not prepared. But it's not just with dance, it's with everything in life. If you become obsessive about something, you can get a lot of results. But in the midst of obsession, there has to be a lot of love. And if you're unable to understand how important it is to give yourself love and be kind to yourself in the process, later down the line, it will hit you out of nowhere, and your mental health will suffer. So
I totally agree. I think that's it. I think the obsession, sorry to cut in there, I think the obsession will get you further quicker, but the love will get you the longevity. So
that's right.
You want a career that lasts a year or 10?
That's right.
Which one is it?
Yeah. But what's good is that you learn a lot about yourself in those times of obsession too, because you start to think, wow, I could go this far. And I don't mean this in any sort of, I guess, any showcasing way, but some of the tours I was on and the pain your body went through, after you go through days and rehearsals like that, where you've had no day off for 2.5, 3 weeks, and then you're into production rehearsals, and then you do your first show, and it's equivalent to like nearly just under a month of no days off, 8 hours to 14-hour days in the last few days. You almost feel like you can do anything. So when I got into fitness, it was like the mentality to push through was sort of built in that dance life. I don't know how far I could have gone now if I didn't have that behind me. So I'm thankful for the obsession too.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. It's just as a way of people understanding, because you're pretty humble, Wolfie. I want you to explain what these were for one, because I know one of them, and I'm getting giddy.
You're the humble one.
and then I want you to tell us what would like, how did you first get on those tours? And then once you're on those tours, could you expand on like what a day of rehearsal would look like? Like, would you arrive and what would the warm up look like? Then the choreo, then was there conditioning? Was there massages? Like, how do let's go, take me through that. Firstly, how did you get on these tours and what were those tours? I guess is the first question.
Well, I got to be honest. First of all, I'm really thankful that I was even able to be on any of those tours. I look back and I know that I worked my butt off, and the universe listened when I spoke, and it rewarded me at the right times. And certain people were also God sent because they believed in me. And you know that saying, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tried to put my what in front of the right who, if that makes sense. And luckily those who's put me in the better who situations where I could show my what again, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was able to, as far as artists, like I've only really done one major tour. I've done a second one, but it was just a brief one. And when I say tour, I mean working with one artist for a while. So I did 2 tours with the girl band Little Mix, and yeah, I was so thankful I had that opportunity. And they're amazing people. They're really hardworking. I used to think I worked hard until I saw their schedule, and I started thinking, Wolf, you do not know what it means to work hard. But yeah, so as far as the rehearsal period of that, for a tour, you're usually looking at 14 days, every day, 8 hours rehearsals, no days off. That's usually what you're looking at, depending on the budget. But that's also 14 days is also quite tight. And comparing, say, to like English to the United States way of doing things, United States would probably have you on like a month rehearsals, whereas in the UK, it's a lot more common for us to have like a 2-week, just to maybe 3-week period of rehearsals. Then you go into production, and production is usually when that's when the hours go crazy. You have 12 to 14 hour days sometimes, but production isn't usually very long. It's sometimes 3, sometimes 6, really depends on the budget that's involved. But the shortest you can probably look at is like 3 days, and that's cutting things fine, because it's no longer about your dancing ability. It's about the whole show. It's about the sound. It's about the technical aspects. It's about the cueing for the crew at the back, them knowing their timings, you knowing when to be there for the crew, you know when they need to be there for you, you know when you need to be there for the artists, the choreographers watching. So this is how hard the production tour is, you might do the show 4 times in one day. And on the average tour, you'd only do that show once in a day. So imagine doing the show 4 times in a day, potentially 3 days in a row.
Right.
Yeah, those are tough days, but they're worth it though. They're worth it.
And obviously the rehearsal, it's got to be slick, right? Because on the night, things have got to happen. What is the setup for in terms of you guys? Do you guys stay all together with the rest of the crew? Do you stay on your own? Like how do they get these different departments to get to know each other, or do you not? Do you just show up on the day and rehearse?
Yeah, you know what? That's a really good question, bro. And personally, I think it's how you are as a person, because from the dancers' point of view, like all the dancers that I worked with on those tour, amazing guys, we were all so friendly with all of the crew, and we wanted to, be able to speak to all of them, and they were open and we were open. So we'd only really share the same space when we were working. But apart from that, we might be in different hotels or might be in the same hotel. It just really depends, because we have almost different people managing us. And so we won't always be in the same place, but
And
that's usually how it works.
what is the case with the audition? What is that process like? How do they end up choosing these people? Do you just get called up if you have a reputation? Are you in, or are there open auditions? What's the way?
I think so Really and honestly, it's very mixed. So some auditions might be private, because certain choreographers maybe are looking to pick, or maybe only five of hundreds of people they've worked with over the years. And it's more a case of time, because maybe they don't have the time to audition 1,000 people for this job that everyone wants. So they pick the people that they've seen and they trust, and then they don't make the choice always. Sometimes it's really up to the management, because the management might say, we like all the people you've given us, but we want these 5 people. We think they will look great with our artist. And that's kind of how it could work. So if that answers the question.
So yeah, I totally get it. Like, people don't want to be messing around. People don't understand audition processes take ages, right? And it slows down the whole process of getting on with rehearsal.
Depends on the gig. Yeah.
But when you do have to audition, what I've seen before is, and tell me if this is correct, like, you have the choreographer shows you guys a routine, and then you guys all do it back, and they'll start like saying, all right, you can leave, you can leave, and they whittle it down. Is that a thing?
Yeah, it is a thing.
Brutal.
You know what? You learn to build up a thick skin, and you also sometimes know when you're gonna go. It's only if you're like, oh, I made a mistake. I remember years ago, I had just graduated from university, and it was maybe 6 months or 7 months in to pursuing a professional dance career, and I was auditioning for the Michael Jackson tribute. And I know, obviously, based on all the controversy, but Michael Jackson is a big
idol. I still have the ticket to This Is It. I kept the ticket.
Really?
Yeah, because I was so upset I couldn't go,
Wow.
Despite what you think of the guy, he is,
of course,
a criminal artist of our time, a clear genius. And you look at all my favorite artists now, both their dance style and probably their pop style comes from him. From will.i.am, Neo, Usher,
Justin Timberlake.
Like, it. They are versions.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah. So basically, it was a tribute show because he had just passed away, and like Tito was there and all of that, and his choreographer was this huge big guy who actually choreographed for Beyonce, and I wanted this job so badly because of what it meant to me from my influence, while I was influenced by the artist Michael Jackson and his music. And in the dance world, it's like everyone wants to dance his music because of just how it makes you feel. So anyway, that was a really hard audition because you just never knew where you stood. You knew you wanted the job, but it's not that easy. Like, people, like when you watch a reality TV show and things keep changing, like 1 minute you think that person's going to get it, and then this person get it, and then that person you thought was going to get it changes back to that person. That's how it felt. So it's not always thank you, go. Sometimes it's like, let me see you again.
What, individually?
Okay, let me see you again. Yeah.
Oh. So at this stage, how do you prepare? Do you just have to be? Do you have to be? In my head, this is what I'm thinking. I imagine you have this repertoire of movement in your bag. You've danced a lot of different ways. You've trained in a lot of different styles. You've practiced different things. So when they show you something, it's a version of something you've seen, and you know how to move your body. Your proprioception, I imagine, is very good. Is that?
That's right. It's the perfect word, actually. You've built up great proprioception, and you've also hopefully been training in that style to build up muscle memory, so that whenever something is taught to you, you can shift from one move to the other without it feeling new to the body. Those things definitely help. So it helps in terms of learning the choreography in that sense, and then also having your own freestyle techniques. Like, I'd always try and throw in a butterfly twist or backflip or something like that. So that, I loved gymnastics when I was dancing a lot. So you have your moves you throw in there, but sometimes it's not about the moves, it's about the choreography. And no matter how good the moves are, you can be like, but you didn't get the choreography, and you're like, ugh. I
Mm.
actually lost my hat. My hat fell off in that audition, and I was like, that threw me off completely. And I think it was the reason I didn't get the job.
Wow. Yeah.
So, you know, it's could be anything. Could be
Yeah.
anything.
So, and what was your training like as you're training, as you are pursuing this career of being a professional dancer? What kind of training are you doing in between gigs? I imagine it's a little bit like with our industry, where you're either on a job and you're on that job for a couple of weeks, couple of months,
Of
and then
course, yeah, it was stunned.
you're not doing anything.
Yeah,
What would your day look like when you weren't working? Like, how would you keep yourself
yeah,
a bit active? What other things would you do for enjoyment, or would it just be dance?
yeah, yeah. Do you know what? Thanks for asking this question, because I also want to ask you, actually, based on your experiences. And I hope we can also relate also to some things. I feel like dancing is very cardio heavy, and the thing about it is that the dynamics of muscle contractions are so, it's you can build, only way you can build up your body is based on doing more dancing. You got to just keep dancing and dancing and dancing and building up more strength that is relative to the movement that you will be doing a lot. Now, obviously, 1 minute you're auditioning for a contemporary job, and then the next minute you're auditioning for a hip hop job, and they're both asking for two different things. So it means you're going to probably put in a lot more training to every style you can when you're not on the jobs. So I'd find myself going to classes, or I'd find myself going to the gym and building up image, because most of the time it was what I was building was not for, yes, there was a need for functionality, but most of the time it was all about aesthetic, and as the functionality came from the training of dancing. So that was kind of what I was doing outside of like jobs. I'd go to build aesthetic, and I'd keep functionality in the movement.
Mm,
So the two work against each other, though.
yeah.
So 1 minute you're stiff and you look aesthetically great, and then your functionality is out the window, or your functionality is great and your aesthetic isn't great, which
Mm.
was hard to find the balance. Did you find the same for you, and or what's it like in the stunt world?
For us, yeah, there's a degree of that. If you're doing a lot of weight training, for instance, and to look like a certain way, bulky and everything, you look great. For us, it's more important that you move well. A few jobs we'll get where it'll be aesthetics, but it's more about your face and the look of your face, because they're going to throw a wig on you or whatever. So if you've got a good character face, you can probably get a lot of jobs anyway. But you have to have a
Okay.
base level of performance if you want to make it as a career.
Mm,
In terms of your movement, you definitely want to, your mobility wants to be there. But also very similar to dance, the guys that are very good at their fight scenes, it's more like dancing. It's how
mm,
dynamic they can be, slow to quick, how dynamic can a punch look and a reaction look, and how much can they
yeah.
perform, how much can they tell a story with their body, which is so similar to what you guys do. What you guys do in something, you're not just doing, I mean, if you broke it down, right, he's putting his left leg out and then his right arm out. Doesn't mean anything, but you're trying to watch people, their movement of their body is trying to relate to a story. So is their face. The same with when we do a
Mm,
fight scene. You need to know who's winning and who's losing, who's getting beat up, not just by
that's right. Yeah.
punches, but how are people reacting. One of the best things I saw was it was the first job I ever did. A guy called G. Um, we were doing this previs, which is like shot against like a wall, like behind me. It's not, there's no set there, and we filmed this thing. And when you first do stunts, you always think when someone kills you, you just die. Okay, cool, because that's the choreo. Come in, block, cut, and then he'll cut you on your throat. And then you just need to make sure you react the right direction. Then you'll die
Mm,
and fall on the floor. And I watched this guy, and your eyes just were drawn to him. Like he gets slit on the throat, and you see him like the fight carries on like on the right of the screen, and you see him grabbing his throat, like fall to his knees, like look at the blood on his hands, which isn't there, you know, and then start crawling a bit and then collapse. And I was like, oh my God, like he just told another story. So you have the story about this
mm,
guy, this badass guy killing everyone, but then you see this very real story of this guy thinking he was going to take this guy out and then slowly realizing that
mm,
he's dying. And I was like,
yeah.
oh my God, this is
Yeah.
this is
That's
multi-dimensional. in terms of your,
Yeah, and that's actually quite beautiful.
it
Thanks for
is,
sharing that.
man, you watch, you want to watch something come to life, you watch those people. You know, I can't watch a movie the same anymore. I watch the background
Mm,
all the time to see what's going on. It'll
wow.
take you out or
Wow.
keep you in. You know, one little move, someone's smiling when they shouldn't be, you're out. You're out of that place, you know. And it's hard enough for us because we see familiar faces and it takes you out straight away.
Yeah, that's right. Oh my gosh, that's right. Oh, that's so and so. Oh, that's so and so.
Yeah, you're like, oh, something bad is about
The
to
amount of
happen here.
adverts.
Um,
Yeah.
so
I'm old now, though. I don't see as many faces I see on. There's just a couple I see every now and then, but I used to see loads when I was
you know
much
what? Maybe
younger
you
in the
know
dance
this
game.
geezer's name. He was prolific, man. I used to see him on everything. Um, Black geezer, shaved head, very
I know who you're
beautiful
talking
looking
about.
guy. You see
Yeah,
straight
I
away.
know him. Yeah, there was a point he was a mentor of mine.
Shut up. He was on everything, man.
Yeah,
On
Sugar Babes,
yes,
you
that's
name it.
exactly the
Yeah,
one.
that's him. Yeah, that's him.
Um,
His
yeah,
name's Anthony K.
Anthony K. Yeah, and
Yeah, he's a really lovely guy. But he's known as BB when he did this modeling show.
or you can see the
Yeah,
modeling in
really
him.
amazing
Got
guy.
that very
Yeah,
androgynous look, like between a male and a female, but
yeah,
he's both a beautiful female and a very handsome man. A weird
yeah.
combination.
And he's got such a beautiful soul. He's actually pursuing acting now. So
Okay, so look out.
and I think he's done quite a bit of. I think he's also doing a bit of physical training work as well. So don't be surprised if you end up sharing the same set with him at some
Yeah,
point.
I mean, I imagine I won't be doubling him, but who knows? Who knows? I mean, yeah.
You never know what can happen these days.
Man, let's see. Let's see. Yeah, no, it is. It's a very dynamic and hard world, and like I said, the movement patterns are very similar to dance. Whenever we have to train dancers for fight scenes, it's always amazing how quickly they pick it up. Sometimes there's a
Oh,
little problem with aggression in terms of how they do the movement.
mm,
Sometimes it can be too neat, too many lines.
yeah,
That's sometimes the problem if that's not what we're looking for. If we're looking for a marauder of some description, we want it to be
yeah,
wild, you know, which
yeah,
is another thing. But just like in your career, what makes someone truly good is not can they do one thing well. It's how many different styles can they adapt to. You know,
yeah,
that's what makes someone really set themselves apart from other ones to go, he can look like this, he can look like a coward running away, he can look like the hero, he can look like the villain, you know, he can do it all. So it's
I think that was the one blessing I learned from the dance world is that adaptation was key. And I feel like there's many situations I'm thrown in now. I I naturally adapt and I go, wow, I'm so glad that I was put in a lot of vulnerable
mm,
positions where I just had to figure it out, you know? And I think the beginning of my dance career was probably the most vulnerable of all
mm,
because you think a lot of people have already been in college for 3 to 4 years and they've had professional choreographers come in and teach them what to expect. And I just came out of university, not a clue, just going from one dance class to another, traveling the world to try and learn knowledge and then ending up on a job and being like, what am I supposed to do here as far as acting like a professional as opposed to just doing the work. There's so much more to it. So
do you think
I think, sorry.
I was going to say, do you think there's a double-sided coin here where on one side, yeah, you're vulnerable because you haven't had that background. Do you think it allows you also to be a little bit gung-ho and go like, well, I've got nothing to lose. I haven't even done as much training as you. There's the confidence that comes with it. And then also a
Mm,
thirst to learn more because you're like, oh my God, this is
yeah,
all new to me. So I think we've got to look at those situations in both ways. You know, I feel the same
yeah.
way about starting gymnastics, you know, almost at 30. I was like, oh, if I could
Oh, you
just,
starting at 30?
well, I was
You
actually
started, you
29.
started at 30?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Okay.
so it was the same. I was like, if I just had a gymnastics hall where I grew up, like,
Mm,
who knows what could have happened? You know, instead, I'm learning this
yeah.
stuff now. But then, would
Do
have
you
had the
know,
thirst?
sorry, go ahead.
That's it. Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Go on.
I cut you off. Can you finish? I'm so sorry.
No, just what I meant to is, you don't know. If I'd had it when I was a
Yeah,
kid, maybe I would have hated it by now, and I wouldn't have done any of these things. You know, that was it.
yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And kind of going off of your gymnastics example, I can 100% relate to that because I started gymnastics when I was about 20 years old. And age 21, I had a really bad accident in gymnastics. I landed on my neck after trying to do a full twist and not even understanding how to do a full twist. I would discover tricks. Okay, let's say I've been doing gymnastics all my life, but I never ever did gymnastics by learning it.
Mm-hmm.
I just was like, throw your body over, do a backflip. I never understood how it worked. And I was going gymnastics for about a year in a leisure center here in London. And I just started to get much better, but I didn't know how or why I was getting better. I was just becoming more fearless, I guess. And trying to do a full twist, I landed on my head and was in the neck brace for 3 months. And it was like the worst experience. I never want to go back to that. But one thing it did, it humbled me a lot. And I actually didn't do gymnastics for like 5-6 years because I was so traumatized by the experience that when I came back to it, I was like, I don't care what I'm doing. I'm doing roly-polies, I'm doing handstands, I'm doing fundamentals, the basics. And I started to think, you know what? As I've got older, I've been doing everything with a certain maturity that age sometimes gives you a much bigger advantage. Perhaps maybe we could lose speed or agility or certain things, but I was able to look at things very differently from an older perspective, obviously relatively to my accident. But with everything I did, there was no rush. Even at this stage, I just go, oh, just do it right first. Don't just do it right and know why it's done that way. So maybe starting at 30 actually, or 29 has worked out in your favor.
That's a great point. It's a funny thing that as you get older, you learn patience, even though you have less time. There's a weird irony there.
Yeah,
You know, when you're younger, you got all the time.
that's
You're like,
true.
I want to do it now. So I'm going to chuck this back tuck straight away. Nope, didn't land it. Almost broke my neck. Let's go another one. Another one.
Well, I didn't hurt myself, so I'm going to do it again.
Yeah, exactly. Brilliant. Exactly.
Yeah.
Speaking on that point, what was the kind of self-care, both in the professional sense when you're on these tours and personally, that you would take to look after yourself while you're doing all this training?
Self-care. I would say, I think everything I did was physical self-care. I didn't know how to do mental self-care. I'll be honest, I didn't. And I was good at keeping up with stretching. I would foam roll because dancing is such a dynamic activity that you're constantly like, you're throwing your arm one way and then you're like lengthening the muscle and then you're contracting it really quickly and then you're changing directions. It's so dynamic that your muscles they're just getting thrown around all the time. And so I would carry a ball with me everywhere I was, and I'd sit on that ball or foam roll. I was consistent with it as much as I could. Oh, sorry. Are you there?
You're back. Yeah, you're back.
Yeah, sorry about that.
All right.
And I was as consistent as I could be with it, and it actually made a massive difference in longevity of my career. But one thing I didn't do was the mental self-care, which I think I should have done a lot more consistently.
Yeah, I mean, that's only really coming to the light now, right? The ability to look after yourself through a daily meditation practice. And it's tough. It's not an easy thing to take on. I don't know. I think because I certainly have someone who I like to see results, and seeing results motivates me. So if I'm getting into shape, when I see myself getting into better shape after 2 weeks, I'm like, right, now we're going to go. Now we're going to really pick up. And then I really want to train. With stretching as well as, stretching to a lesser degree, but mental stuff, there's a lag. There's quite a lag between doing meditation stuff and feeling better. It's not immediate, and it makes it very hard to motivate yourself to do it. I knew the benefits for probably 2 years and still didn't have a meditation practice. So someone who doesn't even know the benefits, why would they do it? I know it.
Yeah.
Like, cognitively, I know the benefits and I'm still not doing it. So it's hard to change these habits. And that's why I actually hope something like now, this period where people have a lot more time, they can start to instill a habit in place.
That's correct. Yeah.
Wolfie,
I think
you're going?
Sorry, I'm just adding to what you said as well. I think knowing it is one thing and application is like a totally different ball game. It's because we as a society have been built on quick results, and not enough it's not been embedded into us to understand that the long game is also very important.
Mhm.
And if you meditate, but you know that feeling good is a process, it's not a euphoric moment, it's a constant thing, you won't have the expectations, and therefore feel like it's okay to meditate and not come out meditating going, wow, I feel like I've just had fireworks exploding around me. It's more knowing that at the center of who you are, there is a groundedness, there's a peacefulness, and and you only ever know it's worked when you are tested.
Mm.
Because I found that through my life's um, meditation style practice that's been changing over the years, it's when I'm tested that I really know whether my meditation has had effect or not. Moments where you should be really angry, or your reflex would say, this is the wrong way to deal with it. You actually are able to have more control, and you go, wow, I'm really surprised and actually quite proud of myself that I didn't allow myself or my ego to take a hold of me in that situation. So just adding on to what
No,
you were
that's
saying.
I
Sorry.
totally agree with you. And that's such a good point, that maybe it's our problem in branding. Maybe the problem with branding meditation as a feel good thing to do. You're right. It makes you feel good, but it doesn't make you feel euphoric. It can, but in general, it makes you feel peaceful. And maybe that this
Yeah.
subtle difference there that maybe will help people. You want to feel at peace, and you also want to be less attached to things in more of a stoic way, so that you don't react like you say. And I'm the same. I think what it helps me do is it makes me watch myself. It makes me watch myself react, and ask myself why I'm reacting like that, and just allow that pause in between to go, this thing
Yeah.
happened. Oh, I feel that's an interesting feeling. And I think we talk about proprioception, knowing where the limbs of the body are in space, because we practice it all the time. We've practiced with the mirror, knowing that is straight line, that is not. That is my arm extended. This is my, whatever the case may be, especially with someone popping and locking, exactly the intrinsic movements in space. And I think meditation is that proprioception of your thoughts and emotions. You start to
Yeah.
see them, you can recognize them, you see them before they happen. You are separate to them. You are not a victim to them. You're not along for the ride. You're watching them and you're going, I see that one. Either I allow it or I choose not to have it right now. So I think
Yeah.
to me, that's it. It's that mental training. Now, just to move on
100%.
for a second, Wolfie, you went from one performance to another, and I actually saw you long before I ever met you. Not making the connection, but when I started working at Cycle, I saw you then. I'd seen your videos had come up so many times on my Instagram. Your very cool
Really?
videos of you on that stationary bike doing duets,
That's crazy.
whatever the case may be. What was that move into the industry you're in now? And what do you think, and I'm going to say it for you, what do you think has made you so successful as an instructor and personality? Because I think that's very much what you are there.
Wow. Thank you for saying that. I don't feel like that at all, but I appreciate that. I feel like I'm a baby right now in
Maybe,
the
but
fitness world.
mm,
So, but let's just continue to grow.
yeah.
So I qualified as a PT, I think about 5 years ago. I got my qualification, and at the time I think I was just looking for some escape from dance, because I felt like I wasn't stimulating myself mentally. And I think it's because I went to university and education was always such a big part of my life for most of it, that it was kind of hard to step into something that was all about physical um, challenges, stimulation. And I wanted to just read and study, and I wanted to get away from it for a second. And I also just wanted to be more in control of my aesthetic journey in the dance world. I didn't want to just eat and just train and be like, yeah, I think I'm doing the right thing, and I'm following all these YouTube clips or doing all these Google research um, blogs, whatever it was. And I just thought, I want to actually know the knowledge myself. So I did. And after qualifying, I got a tour and I had my first few clients, and I had to say to them, hey, I don't think I can PT you right now because I'm going away on tour. So I made the decision to not PT at that stage in my dance career because it just wasn't fair on clients to be inconsistent. One week I'm in London, the next I'm in another country, and then it just wasn't right. So actually, I made this personal choice that I wanted to buy a house, a property, and that just be my sort of dance career thing. I ticked off as a dance gave me a mortgage, and that's what I can live with and move on. So as I got my mortgage, I discovered cycle, or should I say cycle discovered me, because I was desperately now looking for stability, and cycles. Someone from Cycle messaged me and said, hey, we are auditioning, and would you like to come and check us out? And I was like, well, it's funny because in my life right now, I would really like some stability. And especially when you know you got a 25-year mortgage ahead of you, you got to have a lot of stability ahead. And I discovered my third love as soon as I got on that bike. And the rest is history. I've just been fusing I'm going to say what helped me a lot was the fact that I've been teaching dance professionally, or should I say, I've been teaching professionally for about 8 years, but I started teaching it about 10 years ago. Yeah. Sorry. I've been teaching professionally about 10 years, and I started teaching it about 12 years ago, or like 11, nearly 12 years ago. And that teaching aspect, through it, I found that as I was discovering who I was, being mindful was the coach I wanted to be. So applying my knowledge from personal training and just fitness instructing in general, and then applying dance and rhythm and then mindfulness from my general personal practice, was just how all three kind of fused together to make the instructor I am now, if that makes sense.
It does, and it obviously resonates with a lot of people. You know, your classes are very busy. You know, what do you? I mean, your wait list a lot, man. People.
You're too kind. That's you. That's
I
not me.
watch it, man. I watch people downstairs wanting to take your photo all the time. I'm like, this is crazy. This is amazing.
That's not true. That's you. That's you.
It's true. It is true, Wolf. It's so good to see, man. It's so good to see you turn a hand, and I think that's what I often say. That's what makes champions. They adapt. They survive. You know, they turn one thing into another. They take that closed door and they look around and they go, okay, I can apply myself here. And also, I think what you've done quite well in your training is that you've fused those things and made it quintessentially your own. So people know when they've been to your class, you know. And I think in an arena that is pretty saturated, having a USP is important. And I think there's no easier USP than being yourself, because no one can compete with you at being yourself.
That's right.
No one can do it.
That's right.
So again, it comes down to that mindfulness, though. You have to know who you are in order to be that person. And if you haven't put in the time to spend a bit of time knowing that, you're not going to do it, you know?
That's right. How did you find mixing stunt related to your career?
Very similar
in yoga.
Very similar to what you were saying about how is it you make an offering if you're not consistent. And both our careers, dance and stunts, are very transient and very fickle. You know, can you come in tomorrow? Actually, tomorrow is now Thursday. All right, and Thursday is now Thursday is a week, not just a day. Actually, now it's a month. You know, now
I know all about that.
So you're trying to like phone people and be like, oh, remember that I can't do that clock. I can't do that. I can't yet. And it's very difficult. And, you know, I've had a hard time trying to find it. And actually, that's why this period now for me is pretty good to find an online offering, because this is probably for me the most streamlined way for me to do both. So that when I have days off, I follow a schedule that's online. I have online courses. I get this passive income stream going, and then I can also work my stunts, you know. So that's
right. Yeah.
So I'm trying to again see this as positive and go, okay, so how do I do this? And I think there's a way to do this. Also, I like really hot climates. I like surfing. I like being in my board shorts, no shoes, no shirt. Like that's how I want to live. So I'm trying to find places I can do that, and this will allow that, you know.
Do you know what I think is amazing about that too? Is that if you are able to find a hot climate a beautiful scenery
Mm-hmm.
in your videos, people won't just be attracted to doing your workouts or just experiential journeys that you provide online, but also the energy that comes from the video itself. Who doesn't like watching a video of a sunset? Who doesn't like watching a video of the sun shining on a beach? Who doesn't? You know, we all have a connection to that, um, just from our life perception, and attaching that to the place for you that is fulfills you will fulfill others too. Just watching it. Do you know what I mean?
I totally agree with you. Really, it
So go find
echoes.
the island.
Well, look, I've got a few on the list, my friend. I might just have to wait for this whole Corona thing to blow over. But it's so funny. A
Of
friend of mine I was
course.
speaking to today said the exact same thing. They said the same. They said, look, if people will watch you in your living room, like they'll definitely watch you in a beautiful, and like I'm all about the aesthetic. You know, I'm always trying to
Mm.
find ways to build this up. I can only do so much in my living room, but like I like filming. I like making something beautiful. I like telling stories. So even when I do these online videos, I want it to be beautiful. And when I'm putting these videos out, part of me is a bit like, God, it would look so nice if that door was a little bit to the left, so we could have some symmetry in the shot. You know, but
Yeah.
you got to do what you can.
Of
Wolfie,
course.
how are you now? You're talking about stability. How has this instability of this happened? I'm assuming you're not teaching classes publicly anymore. What's
Yeah, that's
for
right.
you
That's
guys,
correct.
and what's the latest with you? Were you all 0 hour contracts? How is this all playing out?
Yeah, so I'm self-employed, so technically, um, I'm out of work unless I'm able to work in this case scenario, and it's really brought things to light because for a long time I've also said to myself, you know what, I know friends who are doing online coaching, personal training, and I've wanted to do that myself, and just thought, I need to set that up just because regardless of this situation, because no one could have predicted this, I just thought it would be great to do the exact same thing you wanted to do and be on an island or somewhere hot or a climate that you love and know you can still work and still be consistent and stable. Now, the situation as it is unfortunate for a lot of contractors, self-employed people, sole traders in this situation. And I also think the blessing behind it is now it's time to start that work you've been putting off, well, not putting off, but doing in drips. It's time to put in full effort into it, you know? So that's the sad thing is I don't have any work. The amazing thing is I have this incredible opportunity to create something that I've wanted to create for a long time. And now the pressure really is on because I can't back down from something I wanted to do. I'm accountable to myself. So what
So
about you?
that's exactly how I feel. In some ways, I keep watching the news going, if they like remove lockdown, I'm like, God damn it, I just got this going. You know, I need more time. Keep them in the damn houses. Do not let them
Yeah.
out. I've just got a new weekly schedule and I got a workshop in the weekend. God damn it. Get them back in the house.
Yeah. But you
So,
know what? What's great is this won't end. This for you won't end. And I personally think once I figure out exactly what it is and how I'm doing it, it'll just continue. And what's great also is that the people that are doing flowing with you at whatever time of the day will always go, you know what? I remember this time that I didn't have the opportunity to do yoga. I didn't have the time to do meditation. I didn't have the time to connect outside of my four walls in this way. And this one person gave it to me. And I'll always come back to my Saturday night ritual at home with that person. Do you know what I mean?
I
So
totally agree. I think this is if you are a fitness trainer of some description and you've been waiting to get out there and get a bit more reach and just to try things out, why not? Like there's zero cost, literally zero cost. Instagram costs nothing. YouTube costs nothing. Facebook Live costs nothing. You know, here's my thing. The only reason I didn't do it before was ego. It was worried that no one would show up.
okay.
And now I don't care. If one person
Mm,
shows up, that's exactly the amount that I want to teach. If
yeah.
20 show up, that's exactly the amount I want to teach. You know, I all of them are amazing. The fact that anyone wants to come and learn from me, what an incredible experience that someone has, you know, has charged me with the benefit and the privilege to teach them something, and the responsibility.
That's right.
That's why I think you need to know your stuff, and you need to put the time in, because, you know, you're providing something, they're expecting something, and you do need to provide it. So Wolfie, let's get back to you then, man. What is it that you're going to set up? Is that something you're going to be working on? Is it going to be live stuff? Is it going to be online course? Would you consider doing the dance stuff?
Well, do you know what? Let's just say that I have a massive list of things that I'm figuring out if they work. I'd say before this had all happened, the first thing I wanted to do was have an online coaching platform where I could, because last year I did an Ironman with my now wife, who I proposed at the end of the Ironman, and I actually wanted to be able to help people to achieve personal goals like that. And it was all based on, if someone's hiking up Mount Kilimanjaro, or someone is doing a marathon at the end of the year, how could I coach them from a distance and tell them, hey, how was your run today? Or I recommend you do this tomorrow. Or I have a trainer recommended I think you should go and meet them and get these particular things built on. And that was a platform I wanted to create. And it's still something I want to do. But this whole scenario has made me think about everything. It's made me think about dance. It's made me think about just virtual training as a whole and who I want to be. The hard part is figuring, you know, before something happens, you have an idea. And then something happens and it says, you thought that idea was that, change it. Mm-hmm. So let's just say that's where I'm at now. I'm spending a lot of time figuring out who I am in this next virtual world adventure, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
All will be revealed.
All right, good. Well, I'll wait with bated breath, my friend, because I'm telling you what, that's what I'm missing now. Wolfie, I'm no professional, but I like to dance, and I dare tell you that it's turned some heads, all right? For good or bad, I'm not sure. But it definitely gets attention. You know, that's the first step.
Yeah.
Watch you. If no one's watching you.
Okay.
So look, I got some grooves. You know, there's a move named.
What kind of stuff have you done?
I haven't done anything
for dancing,
but I have a weird ability to watch something and be able to copy enough of it that someone might think I can do it. So
I'm not surprised. I bet you can.
I've learned a few things like that. So, you know, I'll rock out a top rock and people go like, oh shit, he's a b-boy, you know, but then I'll stop to make sure I never learn that I cannot do any other moves, you know?
Okay.
Same with the switch step, you know? And what do you guys
you
call
do so convincingly as well, though, Billy.
Yeah, exactly. But I'll leave and
really
act like I've got to go. You know, I have to keep leaving clubs. You know, after 5 minutes ago, yeah, I've got a bag of probably about 20 moves, you know, and once they're out, I'm like, I'm going to have to go back to move number 1 now, you know?
Okay, fair enough.
But I'm telling you, you know, you're going to laugh. So the excitement that I had to see you in the Little Mix video, that is probably my most listened to song, if not my favorite song, Little Mix Touch. I'm learning it on guitar. I'm fucking learning it on guitar.
Really?
Yeah. You and me and nobody else, you know?
What?
Yeah. So when I saw you in the video, in hindsight, because I'd seen the video for a long time, and then in hindsight, I was like, that's Wolfie. God damn it. That is cool. So I watched,
thank you.
Before that, I used to also watch that, what are those YouTube videos with that's not a name, Jade Shutterworth from Diversity and Dance Unity is maybe what it's called.
That's correct. Unity.
And Brian Friedemann did a choreo to Touch, which
did he?
Yeah, you should watch that, mate. I watched that on loop. So, and they will do sometimes a tutorial you can download, and I downloaded one like that.
Wow.
I would be all over that. I just don't have the space in here because they actually had a really cool move, which is like a butterfly twist on the ground. So imagine like lying on your front and pressing off your hand to do a butterfly twist.
Wow.
So it's actually easier.
That's actually, I know that, isn't it?
Maybe it's just a butterfly.
Okay.
But it's a cool move. But my point being, if you were doing Instagram live stuff, I can tell you now, man, from what I know from the fitness industry, people love dancing. And if they can dance behind closed doors without anyone even seeing them, you've taken away the only barrier that normally they have.
Wow.
You know, so I'm just telling you, man, I'd be up all over that.
Okay, that's good to know. That's very good to know.
All
That's
right.
gonna have
Well,
to be the next thing I do then for sure.
I'm telling you, put together a sort of routine. I used to love going to Pineapple. It's funny, and everyone I took
Okay.
to Pineapple would be really hesitant to come with me. And once they came, they'd be like, "This may be the best thing I've ever done." Like
Wow.
a
Okay, that's
combination. We're designed to move to the beat. I don't know if you've ever seen the experiment with babies, where they just have a baby, a toddler, or a baby in someone's
hmm
lap, and they play different music, and you'll see the baby trying to nod his head at the beats per minute and trying to work out the puzzle that is the music. Because that's what we see music
wow.
as. We see music as this puzzle. So pop music's great because it's consistent. We know where the beats are going to be all the time.
Mm,
You know, jazz becomes a little more complicated because it's going to shift and change, and you have to adapt a little bit like contemporary. You know,
yeah.
you have to adapt more. You have to freestyle. You have to ad lib, which becomes a much harder skill. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's my
I
two.
love that you have that knowledge though, because you being a musician gives you so much more of an advantage of understanding movement because you understand how music works too.
I mean, I'll stop you right there. I'm definitely no musician. All right. When you see me hammer away at
Ah,
that thing, especially when you hear the
okay.
singing, but I do understand. I was a music teacher and I understand beats per minute and obviously bars and rhythm. Certainly, I think we're
That's
designed
it.
for rhythm as humans. You know, it's as old
Well,
as
there's this thing that's like where our cells are constantly vibrating, and you could say that they're dancing to an extent, and depending on the intensity of the vibration changes the experience of the cell. Like maybe if it's vibrate things at a very high temperature vibrating at really high rates. So in a and things, I don't know in terms of whether when it's cold if they're vibrating less. I don't
Mhm.
necessarily know that,
Yeah,
but
they
I
are.
just know that vibration is rhythm in itself. And there's so many things out there. You can look on YouTube and just see how sound can create or animate water or,
Mhm.
or sand, and you just think, wow, this is the power of sound. Just imagine what sound does to us when we hear it. Certain sounds can take us through certain brainwave frequencies just because of the power of sound. So I totally understand where you're coming from, and just taking it even further, it's like how beautiful it is to even have a bit of knowledge, if not like even more,
Mm.
about how music works connected to us.
That's so interesting you say about how it animates even water. If you get iron filings on speaker, if you put that into YouTube, it'll blow your mind. So they don't play music per se; they play different frequencies, hertz, and it makes the most beautiful geometric shapes,
Yeah,
like
I'm not
complicated
surprised.
geometric shapes. And I'm like, oh snap! And then we think about dance, and the thing we like to see people dance is these shapes and these geometric lines. You know, and we're like,
That's right. Yeah.
it's all connected. Wolfie, I'm aware of your time, my friend. So look, any closing thoughts or where people can catch you when you do or when you are ready to release a bit more Wolfie to the world, where could they
Mm.
catch all of this?
I'd say the best thing is just to keep up with me on my Instagram, because that's kind of my home of posting. It goes around to all my other sort of platforms of social media, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. I do that separately, but it's mainly from Instagram, and that's at Wolfgang, WOLFGANG. And then my surname, all as one word, Mwanje, which is spelled MWANJE. That's Wolfgang Mwanje. That's my handle on Instagram, and everyone can find me there and keep up with me or just connect for whatever reasons.
Wicked. And of course, it goes without saying, I'll tag you in all of this when we put it out. Wolfie, I'm going to do a couple of things here just before we.
Yeah.
One, something you're very famous for, um, very, very famous for, is,
Oh my gosh, what is it?
is the classic Wolfie howl. So I want, as a way to finish this, to do. My screen is so disgustingly dirty. I'm gonna have to clean that. 1 second. I want let's get a combined Wolfie howl
Okay,
to finish this off. All right, you ready?
let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah.
All right, 1, 2, 3. Oh, oh!
Oh!
Yours went on for ages. Oh man,
Sorry, I didn't know how long we were going for.
it was amazing. You hit a note there. I didn't even know it was possible. There's gonna be wolves after me now. Look, well, thanks so much for this, man. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing all the good stuff you're gonna do. You're always putting out great stuff, so I can't
Thank
wait.
you. I appreciate that, man. The pleasure was all mine, and I'm always following your feed too, man. Thank you for everything that you do, not just for me, but everyone. Like you're impacting a lot of people, and the hard work that you're putting in to share your life, your views, your thoughts, your just you is making a difference. So keep doing what you're doing, bro.
Man, thank you so much, buddy. Take it easy.
Peace and love, man. See you soon.
Cheers, bud.